Omega, you don't have to worry. You are never going back to Kamino.
Welcome to the ScreenCrush Break Room. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in the season finale of The Bad Batch. Because this episode is a two-parter, we're actually going to talk about the Easter eggs for episode 15 as well. So we open with Hunter as a prisoner on Kamino. When Crosshair enters, he says,
"You'll find out soon enough, and so will your squad."
And I thought his choice of words was interesting. He's implying that he no longer feels any affinity for the Bad Batch, but the episode reveals that he still cares about the team as individuals. So this whole time, he wasn't trying to kill them, just to bring them into the fold and convince them to join the Empire. Imperial ships have surrounded Kamino, a great visual that neatly summarizes this takeover. Normally, Imperial ships would blast structures from orbit, but I'm guessing Kamino storms make the surface hard to target. As a nice goodbye to the planet, Kamino's original theme from Attack of the Clones plays several times in the episode. The human stormtroopers are wearing helmets modeled after the original Ralph McQuarrie designs for stormtroopers. I like that the Empire switched to these and then eventually decided to go retro and back to the classic clone helmets. Topeka City being empty brings the season full circle. In episode 1, the city was still teeming with troops as the center of the clone army's activity. Now it's like Marius' Solo in Les Mis.
Empty chairs at empty tables.
In the former Kaminoan command center, Hunter defends his decision to Crosshair.
We didn't have a choice.
And I did.
Now, this is a very interesting line looking back at it. We learn later in the episode that Crosshair did have a choice. He removed his control chip, but he still thinks that he didn't have a choice, because he swore loyalty to the Chancellor and the Republic. It doesn't matter to him that the Empire has taken over. Or maybe Crosshair didn't have a choice at first, but then he removed his chip later. Afterwards, he felt abandoned by his squad and stayed with the Empire. And then we get a major new reveal for this show.
Your mutations were enhanced in this room. Experimental Unit 99 began right here.
So this is telling us that the Bad Batch are not rejects. They were designed, just like Cut theorized.
The Kaminoans don't create without a purpose.
Omega goes on to say that she was there to see their creation, which means that she does not have accelerated aging and is technically older than everyone else in the group, kind of like Elia Atreides.
Poor Emperor.
You'll remember that we've seen one unaltered clone before, Boba Fett.
Fett demanded only one thing. An unaltered clone for himself.
But in a recent episode, we learned that Boba was codenamed Alpha, so both he and Omega are members technically of the Bad Batch and have some secret that makes them special. For Omega, maybe she's force sensitive. For Boba Fett, it's his charm with the ladies. The alarm at the Kaminoan facility is the same as the Imperial alarm that we heard in the original trilogy, which is interesting because it shows that the Kaminoans really did lay down the foundation for the entire Imperial military. They reference
The TK Troopers.
who are the human troopers that we saw all through the original trilogy.
TK-421, wire to at your post.
The whole sequence where they're sneaking around past small squads of troopers seems deliberately lifted from The Empire Strikes Back. You know, it's been a fun ride watching the Bad Batch dance on a knife's edge every week, constantly eluding peril while trying to find a new home for themselves in the galaxy. But with such a dangerous lifestyle, Hunter and the rest of the Batch should really think about what they're leaving behind for poor Omega. And so should you. If you have a family that relies on your income, then you need life insurance. You never know when something might happen, like your friend is mind controlled by a galactic empire and mercilessly hunt you across the stars. Look, I know life insurance seems weird and complicated, but that's why I recommend Policy Genius, the sponsor of this video. It's very easy to use. Head over to policygenius.com/ScreenCrush to get started. In just a few minutes, you can work out how much coverage you need and compare personalized quotes to get your best price. See, Policy Genius is not an insurance company. It's their job to work with different companies to find the best rates for you, and they handle all the paperwork and applications for free. You could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius, and you can save $1,300 or more per year by using Policy Genius to compare different life insurance policies. Eligible applicants can get covered in as little as a week. Remember what Jack Napier said.
Think about the future.
So don't put this off till you're older, because life insurance is way cheaper when you're still young. Get a good rate now and lock it in for decades. Head to the link in the description to get started right now. Then we return to the training ground, which we first saw in the truly early excellent Clone Wars episode Clone Cadets. The last time the Bad Batch were all here, they were trying to impress Tarkin to prove that they still had value as soldiers. Now they find themselves in the same space, proving that they have value as free men. Crosshair says,
You won't be needing your weapons.
which felt like a callback to this.
Your weapons. You will not need them.
And then,
Following orders isn't so difficult.
seems like a callback to the line of all chip-activated clones.
Good soldiers follow orders.
And how about this line?
We're loyal to each other, not some empire.
You weren't loyal to me.
Crosshair's right. They never made a point to go after him. They saved Echo, Omega, Hunter, even Wrecker, but left Crosshair out to dry. To save the batch, Omega activates the training droids. Now notice, they are early models of the Dark Troopers that we saw in Chapter 16 of The Mandalorian, which were also based off these early models in the Dark Forces video game. This episode finally gives us a Crosshair philosophical battle that distills the point of the show.
We're not like the Regs. We never have been. We're superior.
And this is what finally tells us Crosshair's motivation. He sees himself as more than, while the rest of the batch think of themselves as defective. Crosshair doesn't feel like he's under the control of the Empire, more like he's assisting it. He thinks the galaxy needs to be controlled, and can't do it without elite soldiers like him and the Bad Batch helping them.
This is what we were made for.
Here, Crosshair is speaking about a purpose assigned to the Bad Batch. They were built to kill and destroy, but all season long, they've been discovering their own purpose, to live free and normal lives, though at one point they were imprisoned by the constraints of capitalism.
Now, I like you boys, but I'm not running a charity here.
Capitalism sucks, right? This line
Don't become my enemy.
felt like a poetry rhymey moment with this one.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
And Hunter's line here
You really don't get who we are, do you?
is because the Bad Batch have always been apart from the regular army. They're the offshoots, the rejects, who make up their own minds. And then we see what the Empire really thinks of clones when they unload on the facility. Tarkin's line,
You may fire when ready.
is of course a nod to this.
You may fire when ready.
And the visual of the rest of the fleet emerging from the clouds is reminiscent of the Emperor's super secret mystery fleet in The Rise of Skywalker. It's pretty ingenious what the Empire's done here. They've cornered the market on cloning technology, which the Emperor can then use to clone himself in 50 years. It also explains why we don't see more clones running around in the original trilogy, and why the Clone Wars seem so strange and mysterious to youngsters like Luke. So let's talk about this reveal.
I had my chip removed a long time ago.
I agree with Hunter when he says this.
Since when?
Does it matter?
Yes.
Yeah, it does matter. It very, very much matters. Because he has no scar on his temple, so he may be lying, or maybe he only thinks that it was removed. But also, that means that in the first episode, he blindly obeyed orders to kill a child.
Good soldiers follow orders.
And if he got the chip removed a long time ago, why not tell the other Bad Batch members about it? So I think it's more likely that he had it removed after the Empire had activated it. Maybe because he believes that he's superior to the others and he wanted to assert his free will. What matters most is now he doesn't have a chip and he still chooses to serve the Empire. And now let's talk about the finale of Season 1, Kamino Lost. Now there aren't as many Easter eggs in this episode, though I think it's far and away the best episode of the season, and one of the best episodes of Star Wars that I've ever seen.
This is a happy moment. The happiest moment of my life.
The visuals are stunning, it's suspenseful, and there are real character stakes.
You offered us a chance, Crosshair. This is yours.
I made my decision.
There's also just enough big reveals,
Omega was created before us. Technically, she is older than we are.
while still teasing other mysteries, like what makes Omega so special. Great episode, 10 out of 10, let's move on. When this clone tells Rampart about the destruction of Kamino,
The cities have been destroyed, sir. All Kaminoan facilities have collapsed into the sea.
you can hear just a little bit of pain in his voice, like he's sorry to see his home go away. This season, we're starting to see other clones break from their ranks, despite their control chips.
But look around you. You're now being ordered to target the very people we swore to protect.
I think the chips are mostly a safeguard against the Jedi, and now you're going to see more clones abandon the Empire in Season 2. AZ is the real hero of this episode, and personally I'm really glad the droid is going to stick around. In fact, I just realized watching this episode that his name, AZ, is very similar to Alpha and Omega, the code names given to Boba Fett and Omega, the first and last clones.
To my knowledge, there's only one other. A male clone, codenamed Alpha,
later referred to as Boba.
This show has a running theme about beginnings and endings. The Republic ends, the Empire begins, the Clone War ends, Rebellion begins, etc. I like that we got more of Omega and Crosshair together in this episode. In fact, if he's going to hunt them in Season 2, then he should have a personal connection to the entire team. But remember, she could also sense his emotions back in Episode 1.
You're angry.
How perceptive.
At the time, I thought this was because she's Force sensitive, and maybe she is. But now I'm thinking this was because she knows the Bad Batch better than they know themselves. She was there when they were zygotes. Like Jeremiah 11 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." So this whole time, we thought that Omega was kind of like their kid sister. But along the way, she's become more like their mother.
And keep an eye on your brothers. They need it.
They escape past the hallway where Obi-Wan first saw the growth cloning chambers. For all of you who grew up with the prequels, I'm sure this was an emotional episode. The whole sequence was just beautiful. Kamino's always been a symbolic location, showing a hierarchy of order above an ocean of roiling emotions. You could say that it was a metaphor for Anakin trying to control his emotions in Attack of the Clones.
It's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous. He's holding me back.
Or of the dark side forces on the underside controlling the Republic. Now, it's all junk. Useless after the Empire stripped it for parts.
You should have killed me.
Would have been a waste of parts.
The series comes full circle with Crosshair and Hunter arguing over leadership in both the first and last episodes.
They sent us to eliminate innocent civilians.
Who said they're innocent?
What's wrong with you?
Me? I'm following orders. Soldiers follow orders.
Blind allegiance makes you a pawn. A real leader protects his squad.
Look where that's gotten you.
And this was a key line for the series.
Crosshair has always been severe and unyielding. It is his nature. You cannot change that. He cannot change that.
This show is all about individuality. Do we have free will, or are we prisoners of our own genetic programming? Is it Crosshair's nature that decided him to throw in with the Empire, or is he his own man? See, I'm bummed that they glossed over that control chip line last episode.
I had my chip removed a long time ago.
Because knowing when he lost his chip would tell us a lot about his values and who he is. They end up back at Nala Se's private lab. Again, appropriate that at the end they all return to the place where they began. Alpha and Omega. Speaking of Alpha, in a Clone Wars comic, we did see that this pod is where they kept your mom. Hunter tells him,
"All you'll ever be to them is a number."
Because clones gave themselves their nicknames, not the Republic command.
Break through enemy lines and take the tower.
Comlink, just relayed orders from...
We all heard the orders, Echo!
Stop calling me that! Stop repeating every order!
50 years later, we'll see the same idea come to fruition with Finn.
Hey, what's your name?
FN2187. What? That's the only name they ever gave me.
So AZ is high in the running for my favorite character in the show.
Your safety and well-being is my primary mission objective.
Droids are wonderful. I was devastated when I thought he was going to get the Jack Dawson treatment. And then Omega once again proves why she's the heart of the team, risking her life for an appliance.
I'm going after AZ!
Omega, go!
And then the team once again have to leave Crosshair behind. And then we get this teaser ending. The channel heavy spoilers theorize that this planet could be Daro, the same planet where the Empire kept Gregor. And we see that Nala Se is now essentially a prisoner of the Empire. You'll remember they did something similar to Galen Erso in Rogue One, forcing him to spend decades creating the Death Star at a remote facility. Except in this case, Nala Se is likely helping to create a Force-sensitive clone of Emperor Palpatine. Because I guess all Star Wars is now geared toward explaining dumb decisions to bring him back in Rise of Skywalker.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Like J.J. Abrams explained here.
So I told Chris Terrio, I said, hey, don't worry about how Palpatine comes back. Well, someone's going to cover that like a comic book or a TV show on Disney+. It'll be fine. Now pound that keyboard. I need pages.
Now, obviously that was not the real J.J. Abrams, but I'm sure that's what they all said at the time. The person who greets Nala Se has a Kamino patch on her arm, just like Dr. Pershing in The Mandalorian. He was trying to take a sample of Grogu's blood for some kind of unrevealed cloning project.
We have exhausted our initial supply of blood. The child is small and I was only able to harvest a limited amount.
So I'm going to throw this theory out there. The Star Wars galaxy operates with different guilds controlling aspects of the economy, kind of like the Middle Ages in Europe. There's a scrapper guild, a bounty hunter guild, etc.
They just don't want to pay guild rates.
So what if this isn't a Kaminoan symbol, it's the symbol of the Genetic Engineers Guild? This would explain why a human is wearing this patch at the end of the episode. Well, that's all the Easter eggs that I found, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.